Okay, so this video is going to explain what the use of the 1, 3, or 5 rep max is in your training plan. So you might often see that there's 3 rep maxes maybe at the start of a block or at the end of a block, or even built into your training plan. It could be 1 rep maxes at the start or end, and 5 rep maxes might be scattered in kind of throughout a 12-week block as well. So this is going to explain why we include those in the plan and kind of what the importance is of using them kind of pretty regularly in your training. So it's to reach a high RPE in a working set in a training session. So if it's kind of scattered in regularly throughout your plan, it might say something like work to a 5 rep max. It's to reach a really high RPE working set or high difficulty set. That is going to be a real measure of your strength at that moment in time at that session. It might then say after that you've hit the 5 rep max or 3 rep max in that session, for example, and then it might say work at 80% of that weight for 2 back off sets. And again, it gives us a real time indicator of kind of the strength on that day, and then kind of allows us to give really clear and accurate working sets after that, to get the most out of your training. It's also a really good measure of progress. So if you can see the improvement in your 1 rep max over a 12-week plan, 3 rep max over a 12-week plan, or 5 rep max over a 12-week plan, it's going to show kind of the improvements you've made as a result of following the training plan, and show you the effectiveness of the training you've been doing, and the rewards you've got from that. And it helps to inform choices regarding weight and reps for future sessions. If we get a 3 rep max test done on the first week of a training plan, it's going to inform the weights we use going forward, and then again making it more effective and more tailored to you. It also gives a constant and accurate measure of your strength capabilities and allows you to train as hard as possible on any given day. Again, if we put a 5 rep max or 3 rep max, it gives you the opportunity to push yourself as hard as you can on that session, and it gives you an accurate measure if you're testing that kind of regularly throughout a training plan. So in using the 1 rep max, 3 rep max, and 5 rep max, we can do what's called percentage training, where we'd use a percentage of whatever it is, 1 rep, 3 rep, or 5 rep max, to make your training more accurate and tailored to an intensity that is then going to cause greater strength adaptations. An example of this, and something you might see in your own plan, would be in the first week of training, you get a 3 rep max of 100 kilograms on the back squat. It could be deadlift, it could be the bench press. And then in week 2, you can then use 80% of that 3 rep max, or 80 kilograms, for what would most likely be 4 sets of 6. That's just an example there. But if we're using 80%, it's going to be kind of sets of 6 for sets of 4 to 6, for 3 to 5 sets. And then over the weeks, this percentage will increase. So you might do week 3 might be 82.5%, and then so on and so forth. As that percentage increases and the reps either increase or stay the same, your rep maxes will increase too, and that is going to be the demonstration of strength improvements. It is important still to consider RPE though when using percentage training. If the RPE is too high, so if we're thinking about that previous example there where you're doing 80 kilograms for 4 sets of 6, if the RPE feels like a 10 on the first set, you might need to just dial it back a little bit, decrease the weight by possibly 5%. So that'll be kind of taking it down to 75 kilograms. And then that would be a good way to kind of make sure that RPE is still kind of in the realms of what's going to be tolerated, and then you're then going to be able to make adaptations and get strength gains from that, rather than going too hard too soon and kind of paying the price in terms of too much fatigue, injury being like the worst case scenario. And that way you don't get too sore, don't get too injured, and then you can just come back next week and then hit the percentages that we wanted to hit in that next session. It doesn't need we're not in a rush to do anything. It can just be gradual and slow and done at the pace that suits you. So using both RPE and percentage is the best way to get the most out of your strength training. But it comes a little bit differently with hypertrophy training, where we're trying to build muscle, where we don't really use percentages so much. So this is kind of purely for a strength training standpoint, and you will only see this for a handful of exercises probably in your training. But yeah, hopefully that's clear. Hopefully that will make sense. If you have any questions, leave a comment.